So back to the fuel tank at the moment. So that's it in position with its feed, which I'm going to have a slight challenge here. I might have to put a step out here for this to come down inside this area here. And I've just pulled out the old vent, mutilated it, and that's the hole in the floor. You can see the leaf spring down there. So just need to clean that up a little bit, and I'm going to see how I can reuse that for the heating, because that would be rather nice. Rather than cutting another hole in the floor pan, if I can bring some pipe work up that way by enlarging it slightly, that might be a better solution. But we'll have a look, and see where we can see that it'll fit. But yeah, that's where we're up to at the moment. So just clean it all up a little bit, and I'll see you shortly. So sometimes we just have a little bit of luck. So that hole down there is 70mm, and the vents that come with this are 60. So the pipes are going to come up through there quite happily, so I don't need to cut any more holes. Just cleaned it up with a bit of hammerite, just to make sure that it's not going to be rusty. So I can bring the pipes up there, and then I've got two choices. I can either take it through this panel and come out here, or I've got the door that was originally on here, which is going to fit like so. I could actually put vents in the bottom of that. I'll give it some thought and see which is going to be easier. But I'm thinking putting them through this door rather than trying to go into, because this is actually not two compartments. This is actually, sorry, this is two compartments. Small narrow one at the front, big one at the back. So it's going to be a little tight to get it in there. I could bring the other one down here and come out this gap that I've not finished off yet under the toilet. So we could actually have one sitting here and one over there, a bit more separation for the inlet and the outlet. But I'll give it some thought anyway and see which I think will work best. If you've got any ideas whether or not separation between the two is actually worth the extra effort, let me know. All right, catch you soon. So just wanted to talk about one of the problems we've got with these old vehicles, and that is that the alternator is only 50 amps, and this one is I'm going to say a maximum of 30 amps. So what we don't want to happen is that the charge controller tries to pull 30 amps from the alternator when the engine is idling, because basically that overloads the alternator and burns it out very quickly. So one of the adjustments I've got to make on this is, first of all, limit the amount of current that it's trying to draw. I'll probably take it down to 20 amps because I don't need it to be as efficient as it possibly can be. 20 amps will be fine to keep this charged up. But secondly, to put a remote switch in. So there is a connection on the front. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little green tab down there. And that takes a switch input that I can put onto the dashboard. And when we're running, we can have that set so that it is not charging from the alternator until we know that the alternator RPM is going to be fast enough. So essentially, if I'm going stop, start, I can switch it off, and therefore it puts no load on the alternator. And if I'm on the road and I'm going to be running along at 30, 40, 50 mile an hour, I can then just switch it on and say that's fine, because the alternator is running fast enough that the internal fan will keep it cool enough to not have a problem with overheating. So that's a little adjustment I'm going to make when I get round to doing some of the wiring going to the front cab. But just wanted to just touch on that and just make sure everybody aware that don't have your alternator charging on a DC-DC charger running when the engine is idling, unless you've got a really meaty alternator on there. So anyway, just a thought. Okay, catch you in a bit. So as we're doing electrics, I decided to pull the front panel off and we'll start to see how this thing is wired up. Now I know this is 42 years old and it's probably had plenty of owners in its time, but it's got a bunch of different screws. Every single screw was different holding this in place. Now it's a bit rusty on the back, so I'm going to have to strip this down and clean it all up. But it's pretty basic anyway. I've got mains voltage coming in through a 2-pole breaker. So that's live and neutral are both on the breakers. It goes into the only socket we've got on the van, which is all going to change, of course. The 12-volt output here, but this is funny. So, little chocolate block in there connecting the red wire, which is, yeah, right, it's on the fuse side, so that is positive, that's positive, and connected up to a negative. Ah dear, so I'm going to have to redo all of this anyway. But the main part I want to keep is the level sensors, so they're all there. So we'll clean this up and rewire the back of it anyway. And then at the back here, we have a very old-fashioned mains to 12-volt supply. So that's all coming out. We don't need that in place. So I've got a better solution for that with a proper consumer panel. And we've got 12 volts coming through from the battery. So yeah, a case of ripping most of this out, I'm afraid, and then reinstalling the better stuff. But anyway, I just thought I'd give you a chance to see that. That's the front of the panel, which still looks quite nice. Still the original. And we'll just change it all around and do some proper wiring in here. Okay, be back when we get it all cleaned up. Cheers. So originally we had 2 batteries in here. We had a deep discharge leisure battery, just lead acid by the looks of it. That's the engine battery, and I'm going to swap these around. So I'm going to take the engine battery down and put it down lower. It doesn't really matter, but I just prefer it down there. It's a nice Varta silver battery. So that's going to go down there. I've disconnected all the other wires. I found 2 wires, positive and a negative, going through into the cab through a hole at the back there. And then I've disconnected the charge controller, whatever they call these things. That was what was keeping the leisure battery charged from the alternator at the same time as the main battery. Anyway, that's all disconnected now. I've managed to reconnect the leads as they were originally, coming from the loom, from the alternator straight into the battery here. That's the main battery cable. And I've got a ground, and then I've got some connections up on the top there to sort out at the back when I get this battery out. Just got to get a wrench, spanner on the nut there. So apart from that, that's good. I managed to remove, I don't know why people do this, but somebody's installed a little 12-volt light. You can't see it up there. Yes, you can, just about at the back there. Obviously for working on the engine at night time. But rather than running a cable properly, they've taken a piece of bell wire, wrapped it all the way around the engine, and connected it directly to the battery. No fuse, nothing. So anyway, I've ripped all that out as well. I will put some lights up there, but there'll be LED lights anyway, so no need to keep that rubbish in there. So yeah, that's about it at the moment. So I'll just put some anti-rust on the battery tray, because they do rust out, and then we'll clean that all up and put some paint on it, and then just say swap the batteries around. So yep, that's another little job done. Okay, catch you soon. So a little bit more dismantling, and the fridge is out, and surprisingly in very good condition. No major rust, a little bit of surface rust there, but you'd expect that after 42 years. And lots of dust, but everything seems to be intact. So just a bunch of screws in the side, one hidden of course, always one, and it's given me a chance to get in here now and sort out some cabling. So the corrugated pipe along the bottom there seems to go off to the battery, which will be from the charger that was on the wall. So that's coming out because we're going to do it from the other side of the van. The gas pipe, which is this thing here, going to replace all of that. That's going to the cooktop and also to the fridge. And then they seem to have used 3-core cable and just cut the earth off for all the 12-volt stuff, which is kind of interesting. A bit of a mess up here. Anyway, gradually sorted it out. So I've pulled out the cable that went to the converter, 12-volt converter, because that's no longer being used. So that's going to come out. I've got the cable that goes off to the fridge, which should still be down here. No, that's a 12-volt. The cable to the fridge, I'm going to replace that. And I've got one more cable that, oh, that was going off to the converter as well. So the mains switch in here basically isolated the mains power that was coming in from down here, which I've now removed because we're going to have a wall plug socket arrangement. So that's coming out. So that was going to the main switch, and we'll keep the main switch in operation. But I'll also have a consumer unit sitting over on the back here, over here, along with, no, actually no, that's all it's going to be in there. Just the distribution box, the consumer unit with the breakers. And then we'll keep these breakers here anyway, to look after this socket. And then I'll add some more sockets in and around. I think I've got 4 sockets in all of them with USB-C and USB-A connectors on them, make life simple. But yeah, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Just need to, the air vents and that have all they're just wide open. So they'll all be covered in mesh to keep the insects out. And then I'll do the same again on over here. We'll put some insulation in there, just noise and some thermal insulation as well, just to try and keep the heat out or the heat in, depending on the time of year. But yeah, that's we're getting there. The tabletop's over here, so that's going to be cut to size. I've found somebody else who's actually got one of these vans. He's measured his table for me, and I'm going to do the same thing as his, except that we're going to do an epoxy cover. I can't get the original table for any sensible amount of money, and I've got 3 or 4 gallons of epoxy from a previous project sitting in the garage, so I'll show you how that all comes together when we get to that stage. And we'll do an epoxy cover on the table, and we'll use the original legs, because these come up to table height and then they drop down to bed height. There's no in between position, they are fixed in place, so we'll make sure that that all works. And yeah, I think at that point, so let me just come on to the flooring. So I know I've been promising to get the flooring up, but as somebody pointed out to me the other day, why do you do the flooring halfway through the job when you're going to be walking on it and putting tools on it, etc.? Leave that till the last. So yeah, flooring is going to be the last job as opposed to halfway through. I've just measured up all of the foam, so we've got new foam that's going to come. It's 13 centimeters thick, so we've got a 10 centimeter heavy duty, high density foam with a memory topper, which will be 3 centimeters thick, and then that will then replace all of that old foam. The covers themselves have all been through the washing machine a couple of times. They look really good, so we're going to keep those. And same with the curtains and everything else. It's all in pretty good condition. So, okay, I'll crack on, and I'll show you the next stage as we get a bit closer. Cheers for now.